I hope my son will amount more than a thief and a plunderer. Plunger, Borgin, said Mr. Malfoy coldly, and Mr. Borgin said quickly, No offense, sir, no offense meant. Though if his grades don't pick up, said Mr. Malfoy more coldly still, that may indeed be all he is fit for. It's not my fault, resorted Draco. The teachers all have favorites. That Hermione Granger. I would have thought you'd be ashamed that a girl of no wizard family beat you in every exam, snapped Mr. Malfoy. Ha! Said Harry under his breath, pleased to see Draco looking both abashed and angry. It's the same all over, said Mr. Borgin in his oily voice. Wizard blood is counting for less everywhere. Not with me, said Mr. Malfoy, his long nose flaring. No, sir, not with me, sir, said Mr. Morgan in deep bow. In that case, perhaps we can return to my list, said Mr. Malfoy shortly. I am in something of a hurry, Borgin. I have important business elsewhere today. They started to haggle. Harry watched nervously as Draco drew nearer and nearer to his hiding place, examining the objects for sale. Draco paused to examine a long coil of hangman's rope, and read, smirking, the card propped on a magnificent necklace of opals. Caution, do not touch, cursed, has claimed the lives of 19 Muggle owners to date. Draco turned away and saw the cabinet right in front of him. He walked forward, stretched out his hand for the handle. Done, said Mr. Malfoy at the counter. Come, Draco. Harry wiped his forehead on his sleeve as Draco turned away. Good day to you, Mr. Morgan. I'll expect you at the manor tomorrow and pick up the goods. The moment the door had closed, Mr. Borgin dropped his oily manner. Good day yourself, Mr. Malfoy. And if the stories are true, you haven't sold me half of what's hidden in your manor. Muttering dark, Mr. Morgan disappeared into the back room. Harry waited for a minute in case he came back, then quietly, as he could, slipped out of the cabinet, past the glass cases and out the shop door. Clutching his broken glasses to his face, Harry stared at the ground. He had emerged in the dingy alleyway that seemed to be made up entirely of shops devoted to the dark arts. The one he just left, Borgin and Burke's, looked like the largest, but opposite was Books looked like the largest. But opposite was nasty windows displayed of shrunken heads, and 2 doors down, a large cage was alive with gigantic black spiders. 2 shabby-looking wizards were watching him from the shadows of the doorway, muttering to each other. Feeling jumpy, Harry set off, trying to hold his glasses on straight, and hoping against hope that he'd be able to find a way out of here. An old wooden street sign hanging over the shop selling poisonous candles told him he was in Knockdrum Alley. This didn't help, as Harry had never heard of such a place. He supposed he hadn't spoken clearly enough through his mouthful of ashes back in the Weasley's fire. Trying to stay calm, he wondered what to do. Not lost, are you, my dear? Said a voice in his ear, making him jump. An aged witch stood in front of him, holding a tray of what looked horribly like whole human fingernails. She leered at him, showing mostly teeth. Harry backed away. I'm fine, thanks, he said. I'm just... Harry, what did you think you're doing down there? Harry's heart leapt. So did the witch. A load of fingernails cascaded down over her feet, as she cursed, as the massive form of Hagrid, the Hogwarts gamekeeper, came striding towards them, the beetle black eyes flashing over his green, bristling beard. Hagrid! Harry croaked in relief. I was lost! Blue powder! Hagrid seized Harry by the scruff of his neck and pulled him away from the witch, knocking the tray right out of her hands. Her shrieks followed them all the way along the twisting alley into the bright sunlight. Harry saw a familiar snow-white marble building in the distance, Gringotts Bank. Hagrid had steered him right into Diagon Alley. You're a mess, said Hagrid gruffly, brushing the soot off of Harry so forcefully he nearly knocked him into the barrel of dragon dung outside the Autofrasky. Skulling around Knockdrum Alley. I don't know. Dodgy place, Harry. Don't want no one to see ya down there. I realized that, said Harry, ducking as Hagrid made to brush him off again. I told you, I was lost. What were you doing down there anyways? I was looking for fresh, flesh-eating slug repellent, growled Hagrid. They're running the school cabbages. You're not on your own. You're not on your own? I'm staying with the Weasleys, but we got separated, Harry explained. I've got to go and find them. They set off together down the street. How come you never wrote back to me, said Hagrid, and Harry jogged alongside him. He had to take 3 steps to every stride of Hagrid's enormous boots. Harry explained all about Dobby and the Dursleys. Lousy muggles, growled Hagrid. If I had known, I'd have known. Harry, over here! Harry, over here! Harry looked up and saw Hermione Granger standing at the top of the white flight of steps to Gringotts. She ran down to meet them, her bushy brown hair flying behind her. What happened to your glasses? Hello, Hagrid. Oh, it's wonderful to see you two again. Are you coming to Gringotts, Harry? As soon as I found the Weasleys, said Harry. You won't have to wait long, said Hagrid with a grin. Harry and Hermione walked around, sprinting up the crowded street were Ron, Fred, George, Percy, and Mr. Weasley. Harry, Mr. Weasley panted. We hoped you'd only gone one grade too far. He mopped his glistening bald patch. Molly's frantic. She's coming now. Where'd you come out? Ron asked. Nocturnal Alley, said Hagrid grimly. Excellent, said Fred and George together. We've never been allowed in, said Ron enviously. Why? It's a horrible place. Why would you want in? Why are you envious? I should think not, growled Hagrid. Miss Weasley now came galloping into view, her handbag swinging wildly in hand, Ginny just clinging onto the other. Oh, Harry, oh, my dear, you could have been anywhere. Gasping for breath, she pulled a large clothes brush out of her bag and began sweeping off the suit. Hagrid hadn't managed to beat away. Mr. Weasley took Harry's glasses, gave them a tap of his wand, and returned them, good as new. Well, gotta be off, said Hagrid, who was having his hands wrung by Mrs. Weasley. Nocturnal Alley, if you haven't found him, Hagrid. See you at Hogwarts, he said, and strode away, head and shoulders taller than anyone else in the packed street. Guess who I saw at Borgin and Burke's? Harry asked Ron and Hermione as they climbed the Gringotts steps. Malfoy and his father. Did Lucas Malfoy buy anything? Said Mr. Weasley sharply behind them. No, he was selling. So he's worried, said Mr. Malfoy with grim satisfaction. Oh, I'd love to get Lucas Malfoy for something. You be careful, Arthur, said Mrs. Weasley sharply as they were bowed into the bank by a goblin at the door. That family's trouble. Don't go biting off more than you can chew. So, you don't think I'm matched for Lucas Malfoy? Said Mr. Weasley indignantly, but he was distracted almost at once by the sight of Hermione's parents, who were standing nervously at the counter that ran all along the great marble, waiting for Hermione to introduce them. But you're muggles, said Mr. Weasley delightedly. We must have a drink. What's that you got there? Oh, you're changing muggle money? Molly, look! He pointed excitedly at the 10-pound notes in Mr. Granger's hand. Meet you back here, Ron said to Hermione, as one of the Weasleys and Harry were led off to the underground vaults by another Gringotts goblin. Meet you back here, Ron said to Hermione, as the Weasleys and Harry were led off to their underground vaults by another Gringotts goblin.